Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Motorcycle Mechanic Podcast. Episode 5, recorded on November 22nd, 2022.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Motorcycle Mechanics Podcast. Justin here in Vermont with John down in Kentucky. Not Tennessee. Not Tennessee. Take
That's
two.
Right. Man.
So how's Thanksgiving planning going for you today, this year?
Pretty good. We're going to the blended family Thanksgiving dinner. We're pretty excited about that. So, and then we'll probably leave there later on and go see the in-laws and end up with some friends. I don't know. But years ago, we would always go and do what we got to do, and then we would go to our best friends late at night to have leftovers and just talk about family stories and laugh and joke about what happened that day. It was, instead of being exhausted, we would go and just vent and talk about stuff. That was 20 years ago, but we're still friends with them. You know, we've been gone for a while, but we'll probably do the same thing this weekend at some point.
Nice. Not vent as in like talk crap or...
Yeah, tell them what Uncle Ernie did.
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
have an Uncle Ernie, but you know.
Right, yeah.
So yeah. It's always exciting.
Cousin Chad, what Cousin Chad did.
That's right.
Did you believe
That's
what
right.
Cousin Chad said to Grandma last night?
Yeah. I think Morgan saw a t-shirt the other day, said, "Just got my vaccine. Can't wait to bring it to Thanksgiving dinner and have a nice discussion about it with everybody," or something, you know, to start it off with.
Right.
I thought, well.
I know. It's always like that the politics, right? Like that's the one thing you always fear. Cause like, you know, I'm a libertarian. So Republicans think I'm a Democrat and Democrats think I'm a Republican,
Yeah,
but they don't
that's
realize that I'm like, I just get both sides of the story. So
I'm part of the Black Curtain Party.
yeah, what's that? You just
You
hide
pull the
behind-
black curtain, then you vote, and you walk out, and nobody knows anything.
That's
I'm
right.
Part
Who'd
of the
you
Black
vote
Curtain
for?
Party.
Right. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
It's the one thing I dread for Thanksgiving. It's like, oh, the politics. Here we go.
Yeah,
You know.
that's right.
But, you know, I can generally be diplomatic in those situations. So,
It's almost like the going to a church and seeing the Christian car salesman. So 50% says you need to give me a good deal because I'm a brother, and the other one says you need to pay me full price because I'm a brother. So somewhere in the middle is just insults. We used to joke about it all the time. So
I was going to say, salesmen go to church. That sounds kind of...
yeah, that's right. That's right. There was a Nissan dealership by us, and it just seemed like there was 10 salesmen that all became salesmen at Nissan, and we were calling it the first church in Nissan for a while. It was hilarious.
the first church in Nissan.
Yeah,
It's a mega church.
that's right.
Mega dealer.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow.
That is funny.
Well, it got really, really cold down here just a few days before you guys got really, really cold.
Dude, it was
Yeah.
7 degrees the other morning.
Oh, wow. It's not that cold, but to us, it's really cold. We got 27 or something like that. But
That's cold.
High of 35, 36, a couple days, I froze to death because of the wind and everything.
Yep.
So it got up to 56 today, and I had a T-shirt on getting parts out of the truck and thought, well, this is not too bad until you're out there a few minutes, and then you need a jacket. But
Yeah. Everything, you're
know.
like, oh, this is nice. It's nice. I'm doing some work outside, and you're like working, and all of a sudden it's like snot's running down your face. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can't feel my fingers. It's actually cold outside. So then you go get a jacket.
that's right. That's right.
It's like it's not t-shirt weather anymore.
Yeah. So how was your week?
Good, man. Like I bought one of those Chinese diesel heaters. Ever heard of these things? Look it up on YouTube. You can get them for
boy.
you can get like the box that is everything's included. You just put gas in it and turn it on for like $170, or you can buy like the guts of it without the case for like $100, which is what I did. And yeah, it's impressive. It's a little forced air 12-volt heater they use for like campers and like tiny homes, stuff like that. So I'm using it for the studio. And
Yeah.
dude, it's cranking heat, and it uses about less than a gallon of fuel a day.
Wow. So it's more economical than the wall mount, you mean, with the propane?
Oh yeah, and the propane is, I've got a 100-pound tank. So when I need propane, I am hauling 120 pounds. But with the diesel, right now it's actually running a blend of fryer oil, used motor oil, and diesel, and it's running great.
Wow.
So
Man.
So I only paid $3 a gallon because it's half blended diesel. You know, the precious diesel we only got 30 days in the country or whatever, right? Left.
That's right.
I'm burning it. But
I saw a video the other day where a guy makes his own oil burn, used vegetable oil furnaces that he makes with just scrap stuff that he has in his shop.
That's
it was
crazy.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to watch him do it, and I forgot the temperatures, that he was shooting to come out. I was like, if I didn't have living quarters upstairs from my shop and didn't have fumes going up, I would probably try that.
Right.
But if I had a detached shop going with yours, I would definitely try and do something.
Yep. Well, that's the thing that's really cool about, like, honestly, expectations, $100. I'm like, this thing is going to smoke profusely. And it did when I didn't mix it right. It just like ate a bunch of like fryer oil. It just white smoke. The whole neighborhood smelled like a McDonald's, But like I mixed it up, put some 911 diesel anti-gel in there, and dude, it runs like a dream.
Wow.
No smell inside because it's forced air. So there's two fans. There's a fan that blows basically air over the exchanger, just like in a normal forced air house. And then it's got an exhaust pipe and an intake pipe that are completely separate, and they just vent right outside. So you don't even get any exhaust blow by into your vent. So it's just clean air. And I think the temps coming out were close to 300 degrees.
Oh man.
And it's on, I've had to adjust it because it was, they set them like really rich, and that was like part of the problem. But once I dialed in the jetting, because you can adjust like the fuel flow rates and the speed of the little air agitator or whatever it is, because it's just like a forced air blower, like a salamander, right? It's just really tiny. It runs great. So
see, you missed it. You should have said link in the description.
Link in the description below. I'll do a Jed's Moto. I was gonna do a Jed's Moto video once I get. Dude, it's not pretty right now. So like, you'd be proud of me. It's totally justified. Like justified. I gotta send you a picture. It's got like dryer hose like hanging out from outside the house, and so I didn't have enough. You love this. I didn't have enough pipe so the muffler caught on fire. So that came with it. So that went away, and I needed a little more exhaust length. So I didn't have a pipe with me that like fit right. So I have an old motorcycle handlebar to give me an extra length of exhaust pipe. So that's
my gosh.
So it makes a cool whistle now when it's like going through the bends.
Man.
And it's in an old.
That's not like you to buy something and change the exhaust.
No.
That's weird.
No, not at all. No, I was like, straight pipe it with a handlebar. And then the silver tote that you gave me with all the GS parts, I cut that because it was broken already. So I cut that and have the two, it's the furnace is inside of that. So
wow.
Yeah, it works, but I'm picking up one of those old truck beds, toolboxes. You know what I'm talking about? Like those diamond plate aluminum jobbers.
Oh
yeah. So $50, one with no keys. I'm gonna cut that out and set the whole unit up in there, and it's 12 volt. So you have to have a battery and a charger. So I've got all these old motorcycle batteries. So I'm gonna put those in parallel with each other, right? So that they're still 12 volt, but there's just a lot more amps. And then I can use that for like trickle charging bikes or jump starting or whatever. And then eventually have backup power for the shed too. Cause if I've got 2 or 3 deep cycle batteries and all those old motorcycle batteries that still work, I just don't have a motorcycle to put them in, I could probably get some power. And that thing's really efficient. Like it'll run out of battery for like 24 hours. So
well, at least have a GoPro going 24/7, so we have some footage when it burns down.
That's
to the
right.
ground one day.
That's right. I swear to God, dude. The first night I was like looking out the window. I'm like, nope. and then I would open the door and I could just hear the little tick, 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 tick of the oil pump. And I'm like, we're still good. We're still alive and running.
Oh my gosh.
So
It's crazy.
yeah, that's what I've been doing, man. Like, motorcycle wise, the Triumph. So I'm part of the TOMCC. I'm a Triumph owner motorcycle club member, right? This motorcycle club, MCC, Triumph Owner Motorcycle Club. I don't know why I thought motorcycle was one word, but in Brit in England they decide motorcycle's two words. I don't know. So yeah. I'm a TOMCC member, and we were shooting we get together. It's called on Wednesday. It's called Kickstand, and our chairman Simon, he's from England, so he's a hoot, and we're all talking about, like, you know, I think it was probably my idea actually, because we're like talking about doing really silly things on little bikes. They're like, oh yeah, we should do something like that. I'm like, let's just do like $1,000 challenge. Like, you could find motorcycles, because right now in Northeast, it's prime picking, bud. Like,
oh wow,
Johnny, I found a GL 1500 just like mine for $400.
Oh man,
like a 93, like it's newer than mine. I'm like, what? You know, man. There's so many good deals right now. So we're like, oh, let's do the $1,000 challenge, but we were originally saying nothing bigger than 250 cc's, because it's kind of weird, because anything under 250 is actually kind of hard to find for less than $1,000.
Right.
Because it's beginner bikes, and beginners want to sell for what they paid for it, and they don't understand yet, because they're beginners, that bikes are cheap in the fall and no one's going to buy that.
Right.
So we changed the rules to 500 cc's. Obviously, if you get a British bike, you get more points. There's like a point system. I can't remember how the point system works.
It's 10,000 instead of 1,000.
Right. Yeah. You get it's instant win, 1 million points. You find a British bike for less than $1,000 because you can't. And well, Simon did, and I'm gonna. I don't know how he did. His bike is beautiful. I'll have to share some pictures of it.
Wow.
Anyways, we're all scrambling to find cheap bikes, and obviously, like, a lot of us are like figured out that, like, if we can't find British bikes, we just need to find a really, really, really cheap bike, because if you're under budget, you get points for how much under budget you are. So I'm like, dude, I just gotta be someone that would be willing to give me a bike. Like,
yeah,
that would be the best, right?
Wow.
So I know this is where you and I, and this is how we always are looped together forever in our motorcycle lives. The Ascot VT500 you gave Steve, you gave that to him, right?
Yeah.
He's going to give it to me.
Oh my God.
So it left Vermont to go to New York, and then it's coming back.
And I was scratching my head trying to figure out where I got it from. I cannot remember who I got it from.
That's so great. Because I was like, yeah. So you don't know anything. I was going to be like, let's have a conversation about the history of the bike, because I know a previous owner.
Yeah.
So you basically no recollection.
No, I'll do some research, and I'm sure I could find the date of the picture when I sent it to you, most likely. Look what I got. And then I could probably look at my text messages and figure out where I got it from. But I don't know. It's baffled me, that it's only been 2.5 years and I can't remember that stuff.
I think it's testament to, like, how bad our problem is, John.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
We go through so many machines, we can't even remember where we get our machines sometimes.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I was pretty excited for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So because I got the Ninja 250, which I haven't purchased. Okay, so my buddy dropped it off. It's winterized. It's on a tender. It's got stable in it. It's done for the winter. I'm in my storage in the back, and I told him, like, oh yeah, I'll buy it, but if I can't buy it, do you want it back? He's like, oh, we'll figure it out in the spring. If you can't buy it, that's no big deal. I know I can trade it for something else. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because it's the time of year you're not going to be able to, you're not moving bikes around. So, yeah. So I was thinking about the Ninja 250, but then I was like 500, man. Like the 500cc cap, I need to have because there's a time trial on Saturday. So the time trial is dirt, class 4 road, and pavement, and there's going to be markers like places to take your pictures, and then and whoever gets done the quickest gets the most points for the day, and with the least amount of breakdowns. So my mind goes, I need a 500 and I need a Honda.
That's right. It'll always start.
Right. And what's better than an Ascot, which is like designed to be kind of a flat track, you know.
So is this local guys or is this all over the world?
So no, so it's our chapter. So our chapter is the Northeast, which is a very big area. So we've got guys in like the greater Syracuse area, Finger Lakes region, and then all the way over to we've got folks, mainly they're all in Mass, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, New Hampshire. I'm the only Vermont guy that actually like shows up. I don't know if we have any members in Maine. I think we have members in Maine, but I don't think they come to the meetings. So like, I can't remember how many members. I want to say there's 50 something members, but like, there's like 10 of us that are like the ones that like hardcore. We talk to each other at least once or twice a month. Well, some of these guys talk to each other once a week. I don't always hit those meetings, but yeah. So it's a pretty broad area. So what we're doing is we're all going to meet kind of in the middle, which is southern Vermont.
Okay. Well, it'd be neat if you had like the same thing with a bunch of scooter guys and you guys could get the mods and the rockers going again.
Right. I know, right? Yeah, I know.
Leather jackets.
Well, and some of these guys have some really cool machines. Like I wish you were around because I would just like buy you a membership, although you don't have a Triumph, so you can't be a member. But
right.
Simon's got like, I want to say it's a 73, 74 Bonneville. I think it's a 750. Was that the size of them back then? Was a 750?
I thought Bonnevilles were 500s, but I think it could have been.
It might be bigger than that. I pay dues, so they can't kick me off if they wanted to.
Right.
But I don't know anything about vintage Triumphs. Like, I like listen, I'm like, yeah, cool. And they're like, they're just pieces of rubbish. And I'm like, oh, you know. And we were talking because Simon and I were comparing the GS1000G to a vintage Triumph of that era, 1980, late 70s, early 80s. And he's like,
right.
We're talking about technology in the Triumph that's from the 40s, 30s, and the 40s, comparing it to technology that is brand new, was in the 80s brand new. And it's like, there's no comparison. And then the price is just, you can get into even now, get into a Japanese bike for a lot less. Like, I was looking just for shits to be like, oh, I'll get an old Triumph. And I'm like, for $5,000-$6,000, I just can't justify that.
And it might be a roller at 5,000. It may not.
Right. It may not be a roller. It might be a basket case, like literally in baskets. So, yeah. So they have some really cool machines, and they're all hardcore Triumph guys. Eric's got like 100,000 mile Thunderbird, and like, you know, they ride the hell out of their bikes, and they love them. And I love my Bonneville, so I get it. But we all it's the common grievances of we own Triumphs, so our bikes have problems.
Yeah.
Some of them do, not all of them.
Bob and I were talking on the phone the other day, and he brought you up, and he, watches all your videos, the other ones and stuff, but he made a comment about the last Yamaha, whatever, that you sold, the triple, and I can't remember what it was called, but he just said, does he have any new bikes? He's got this and that. And I said, well, he'll probably never get rid of the Triumph. It'll probably be a quest to just see how many miles he could put on that thing. I said, he flips a lot of bikes, but I can't imagine him ever flipping that. So
No, I'll probably never get rid of the Bonneville.
yeah.
Just because, it was in the wedding. Like, Shannon brings that up every time I ever say something about the Bonneville. She's like, you're not going to get rid of that, right? I'm like, no, I'm not going to get rid of it.
Well, tell her I'll never get rid of the SR because it was in your wedding too.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, good. I'll tell her that.
Yeah. It always cracked me up that Steve builds this incredible custom bike that looked amazing, and then here's my old vintage stock bike sitting up there at the wedding. I'm like, why isn't Steve's up there?
I know. Well, I mean, the reason I own the Bonneville, the reason I own the GS 1000, it's like because I've always wanted a bike like your SR. It is such a perfect specimen, dude. It's such a beautiful bike.
Yeah.
And if folks have never seen it and are listening to the podcast, John has, what year is it? A 79, right?
Yeah, 79.
SR 650. It's poured over to a 750, but it's got like the chrome side cases. It's just beautiful. It was his buddy,
Craig.
that passed away, Craig. It was his bike, and he built that bike. It's beautiful machine. Rides nice. It's just so cool. Like even the little like details of like the wood with the lights and stuff. I love it.
A walnut, he made it.
Yeah. It's just a beautiful machine. The epitome of like a stock universal Japanese motorcycle. Oh, it's not stock, but it's definitely more of just a stock looking beautiful standard bike.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
It's
something else.
So
well, I had an interesting week.
Tell me about it.
Well, to go back to the Hodaka story, I sent pictures of the Hodaka. I got it finished in, I don't know if I said on the last one, but it turns out I had the kill switch wired backwards.
Oh.
And because two wires coming in, and I switched it.
You didn't
one went
roast
to
it.
the CDI box and one went to the coil, and it just didn't have any spark. And I really didn't want to start this thing without having a kill switch because it's got a fresh motor, and all I could see is this thing over revving and blowing up, and I couldn't shut it off. So
breaking the case.
So I'm kicking it, and nothing's happening, no backfires or nothing. And so when I checked everything out, I realized that it was switched. So I switched it, had to rewire some stuff, and it started on the third kick after that. And it sounded so good, just sounded like an old vintage 125. So I rode it around the yard, and it felt kind of weird with the back end all jacked up because of the suspension. Somebody's messed with it and raised it up too high.
Like that suspension is so weird. It's like halfway up the swing arm. That was really
it's like 5-6 inches of travel in the front and 10 in the back. It's just, you feel like you're riding like that around the yard. So I took it real easy and, knew it ran. So I loaded it up and delivered it to the guy. And I said, it's got a fresh motor and everything. He goes, oh, yeah. And he starts it up in the small town in the railroad tracks is right beside his machine shop. And I hear him rah, 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 going down the railroad tracks on his thing. I'm like, well, I guess it's broken now.
Right.
So
he's right.
And it's so funny. I knew him from school a little bit. He's probably 3 or 4 years younger than me. But this guy walks across the street from the body shop and says, what is that? And we tell him that it was a 74 Hodaka. He gets to talking and he starts mentioning a couple guys' names. Turns out I graduated high school with this guy, and I haven't seen him since 78. So we were catching up. It was just small world.
That's so funny.
So I got home and was kind of inspired a little bit to be able to work on a small motorcycle again. Got my grandkids' quad running fairly good. Now I'm waiting on brake parts to come in to get that done. But in the meantime, I reached out to another old motocross guy that I knew and followed up and to see how his championship went for the year and stuff. And I said, hey, you've got that old TS 185 in there. What are you going to do with it? You've got all this other modern stuff. He kind of laughed. He said, you bring me down something worth trading that's about $50, you can have it. And it was a basket case. And I went, oh. So I didn't want to sound too over eager, but I started asking questions about what he needs. What power tool battery base do you use? What about this? What about that?
Right.
He was asking for stuff that I didn't have, but I loaded the truck up And I don't know if I told you about the degreaser that my grandson gave me from the hardware store he works on, but I ended up with 10 or 12 cases of this quality degreaser. So when anybody comes over and buys something, I said, you can have it, but you got to take a case of degreaser with you too. They look at you like, what? So I brought 4 or 5 bottles of that down and some power tools. And I had a brand new knobby tire, 21-inch knobby that I wasn't going to use. I brought that down. He's like, yep, that works. Let's go get it. I mean, just no question. He said, can you use it? And it was he brought it out in 4 boxes and a roller. The gas tank is absolutely perfect, other than it's so rusted on the inside that it's bubbled up on the paint. So the tank's probably shot. I don't know if a seal will do it, the red coat or whatever you call it.
Cream.
And yeah, cream. So, but it looks like everything's there. But I think I sent you a picture. But let's see if I can do this. This is the piston stuck in the cylinder. And I don't know if you'll be able to see or not, but
I can see through that. There's a hole in that piston.
Yeah. So he's been pounding on it to try and get the piston out because it was frozen. So I'll probably have to drill and chip this thing away and then probably have to bore up to the next size to do it.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, darn. Make it a 186 instead of a 185. But it's cool because it was the basic engine that I used when I first raced motocross. So, I was telling my son, I said, it's going to be, deja vu working on this thing again. But it's all in pieces. I sent pictures or whatever. So when I'm there, he said, can you use a TS250?
Is this the case that you sent me the picture?
Yeah. In boxes, in the frames.
I'm going to just show it to her. If people are watching.
Yeah. It's definitely a barn find when you see this.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's the piston stuck in the cylinder jug, sticking out.
Yeah, I don't see the pictures, but
you don't see them?
No.
Oh, are you frozen?
I don't know what I am.
Nope. Yeah, I'm gonna just stop the share. Something's weird's happening, so
yeah.
It's probably because you're using an Apple device. But
yeah, that's right.
So I'll just explain it. But so you've got the case separated. There's the crank. So is everything good on the bottom end, like transmission?
Transmission's probably okay, but I'm sure it's going to need bearings and seals and clutch plates and gaskets.
That's a given. That's a given.
Yeah.
But there was no noticeable damage on the lower end, right? There was the cases all there, and
I really haven't looked real deep, but when I glanced at it, it seemed fine. But they were pretty good motors back in the day. The crank did seem like in good shape, though. It seemed pretty solid when I looked at that. So I don't think it needs a rod or anything. But it'll be a fun project to tinker with, and it's 50 pounds on a workbench rather than 300 on an inline 4 or something.
Right.
But he says, could you use a TS250? And I said, sure. So he had one without the gas tank, without the muffler, without the top end, and it was the lower end, and the crank's frozen in that. But it was a roller, so I thought maybe I would strip that and part that out and raise money to be able to put in the 185, just as a challenge. And then I reached out to another buddy and told him what I had to see if he had parts, and he's got another complete TS250 that the top end's bad in it, but he's got new piston and rings, and he wants me to come down and make an offer on the whole thing, and it's just sitting there. So it's kind of funny how that happens. You look for something, you can't find anything, and then boom, it just falls in your lap. But
now, so the TS, that was an on-road, off-road, right? That had a headlight, everything like that. So a TS250, what vintage
they're
is
both
that?
probably 73 to 1975, 73, something like that.
Okay, so you could make them road legal then.
Yeah, if I wanted to contact my buddy in Vermont to do a title, yeah, I could probably do that. So
I'll do whatever you need, man. I'll do anything you need for an Interceptor 500.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, so I don't know when I'll have the time to do it, but it's nice to have it. But I'll be able to teach my younger son and my grandkids how to ride something rather than saying, here's a street bike, learn how to ride. You know, at least they can fall into dirt a couple times. And
even a TS 250, isn't that pretty powerful machine?
not real well. I don't know. It's kind of mild, mellow, but I guess it could if you've never ridden before. So it'll be nice to just do a couple one-handed wheelies. You know, Grandpa going up the hill would be awesome to do that in front of the grandkids.
Yeah, there you go. I was gonna say, you know, I'm surprised you didn't break into Hondaka that way. You know, just
that's right.
Wrap it, wheelie it. You know,
it was so clean. I mean, somebody told me that the bike was worth $4,000 when I sent him pictures of it, and the guy said, "Tell the guy don't even ride it, just sell it because the muffler's very rare and there's no dents in it. The gas tank's perfect." And I told the guy, and he goes, "I'm not selling this. This was one of my first bikes." He said, "I'm collecting my early bikes to look at the rest of my life." I'm like, well, okay. So
yeah, why not? And you know, and that's the thing. It's like you can find these bikes that you guys first started riding on, especially these enduros and stuff, for $50, or you know, some power tools and some heavy duty degreaser.
That's right.
I mean,
good stuff too.
Yeah.
I did use it in my ultrasonic cleaner the other day to clean the carbs on the quad or one of them.
Yeah.
I cut it with water. It was incredible. It was better than the super clean stuff.
No way. No way.
Yeah. And the shop smelled sweet.
It smelled sweet.
Like dangerous sweet. Like, ooh, that doesn't smell right. I better shut that heater off. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're doing carb work, when you're doing like I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner, and I've thought about getting one. Do you strip the carb down and then just drop it in?
Yeah, I mean, you could put the whole thing in and get the outside clean, but you know, I've got a little wire strainer that I put the jets in and stuff like that. And even with the gaskets and the hoses on it, this degreaser is pretty mellow, and you don't want to leave them in there real long because some of that stuff will turn your silver carburetors like dark gray. You know, it just changes it instantly. And the heat on this thing getting up to, I don't know, 150 degrees is huge on getting everything cleaned up.
Yeah, because you got to think carburetors never actually get warm. If anything, they get colder, you know, the more they run. So, yeah, a nice warm. I used to use, and it works, is pine sol, water, and just boil. You know,
that's right.
And it works great if you have some really gummed up carbs.
And Ichiban used to put the palm sander on there, if you remember.
Yeah, I know. I do have that. I still have it. The one you made for me. Oh, that's right.
I made that for you.
You made one for me. Yeah.
Oh,
I should try that out.
That's right.
I'm sure it'll leak all over the place.
Do it right next to that fire.
I know, right over the top, right over the top of the Chinese diesel heater.
That's right.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I still have a lot of custom trim work to do upstairs, so I got to get the sawdust done and out of the way and then start on this stuff. You can't do them both at the same time. So,
I mean, could you ultrasonic some of these case pieces and stuff, or your ultrasonic?
I could do with this. I could do half. I forgot. I think I have a 3-liter. I want to say I got that on Amazon for $125, something like that. Because remember, it came in and I plugged it in and it popped and blew, and the circuit board was bad, and they said scrap it. We'll send you another one. Because I thought, oh boy, here we go with the Chinese quality. And they sent me another one, and I gave that one to Steve Case, and with his, Inspector Gadget technology, he just got a soldering iron and fixed something and goes, yeah. And I said, good, now you got one. So, it worked out pretty good. But I don't think the ultrasonic part buzzes. It buzzes a lot, but it seemed like when I first got it, or another one, or if you look at it online with somebody using it, you can see the bubbles come up and just kind of going across the surface, and you can actually see the ultrasonic vibration. This one, it doesn't seem like it is real powerful. So if I got another one, I'd probably get a different brand. This is a Rovsun, Rovsun. Link in the description there. So
Yeah, I'll forget to put that in there. But yeah, Rove Sun.
Rove Sun.
Amazon.
So I wanted to say something about my picture here.
Yeah, that's you back in the day, isn't it?
So right by my head, the guy in the, this is hard to do. That's me in the blue helmet right there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So this is the first turn at, I believe it was Fairfield, Ohio. This would have been 1978, 125 class. And to this day, I don't know if I'm in third and there's a big crash behind me. You can see the crash. But then you could also go, maybe I caused it as I went around the turn. But my buddy is in back right about there. That's Stanley right there in the other blue helmet. But I always wanted to post this on District 11 Facebook group here in Ohio and say, does anybody recognize their jersey or whatever? And if they know, who they are, I think it would be interesting. But I only have, 6 or 7 snapshots of me racing that somebody took. So that would have been a Polaroid that, or a Instamatic that you sent in. So the quality's really good.
Yeah, nice and grainy.
Yeah. But I always thought that would be interesting to post it and see if anybody knows who they are. So, yeah. Memories.
Well, so you were riding a Suzuki 125, right?
That was a RM 125, yeah. Yeah. And it was bone stock. I mean, I barely have money to buy it, let alone do anything to it, But I don't know.
Use your mad skills.
Yeah. That's right. Man. When you think about the work that guys do, I mean, they buy a new bike now for $10,000 and they go, you put suspension here and bars here and special pegs. Next thing you know, you've got 15 grand in it. I don't understand how people do it. And then 2 years later, they buy another one. So
yeah, it's an expensive habit.
Yeah, it is.
Or hobby.
That's right.
You could just get used vintage stuff for trade.
That's right. And enjoy it.
Right.
Well, the tinkering is 90% of it for me anyway,
Yeah. Yep.
So I enjoy that.
I think I would have to agree that the tinkering and problem solving is like half the fun. Yeah. Maybe most of the fun, especially with the vintage stuff. Like, I was kind of going through that phase where I was buying newer machines, like the Yamaha, the FJ09, that I sold. Just having newer stuff, but they never broke, so it was fun to own. Like, where it's the Goldwing. It's like, oh, it's kind of running rough, or oh, the exhaust just exploded on the bottom. I'm gonna have to fix this, and since I don't like to spend more on a bike repair than I paid for a bike, and especially I've been getting these bikes as gifts, I definitely don't want to spend any money in them. So I'm like, what do I got for parts? Oh, here's some old here's my Bonneville T120 mufflers and some flex exhaust pipe and some exhaust clamps. And I want to change the note. I'm going to make this pipe a little bit shorter so it has a nice little offbeat rhythm.
I think 2 weeks ago, it might have been high 60s, low 70s, and I thought, boy, if I don't ride today, I'm going to regret it. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring with the weather. So, told my wife I'm going for my 30-mile loop, and I pushed the triple out and got everything on, turned the key on, pushed the push button, and it came off in my hand and hit the ground, the little black button, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it's 4:30, and you've got rush hour traffic going to be around. And I kind of looked at it and I went, I could just push this in and get it started and put that button in my pocket. And I went, no. So I knew I had some buttons from a Honda, but I remembered in the bottom drawer, I had a control for another triple that had the horn button on it. And I knew the horn button. So I should have probably sent you a picture, but you could not believe the gadgetry to get that button out in a spring and to put it in there. So I text my wife and said, I'm not going riding. The bike's broke. And she goes, oh, bummer. So then I went in and fixed it and came back out and sent her a text and said, no, I'm riding. And I went for a ride. And when I came back, it was 11 or 13 minutes. I had taken both of them apart, took everything apart, got the button in and took off. And I was like, well, that was some tedious work with some needle nose. That was pretty impressive. So
It's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. I've got a similar story with my starter for the Goldwing, but it's not, the starter button is also the reverse button, right?
Oh, wow.
So what you do is you pull a lever, and it just, there's this big gear that you hear a big clunk, and then you can, and it'll back the bike up. I went for a ride Sunday, 30 miles. It was like 23 degrees. So everything was cold. It was snowing, but it was nice. I went and met up with Wes from the BMW MOA podcast, Chasing the Horizon, the host for Chasing the Horizon. So he was in town. So he's like, hey, Jed, you want to get together for brunch? And I'm like, done. So I showed up on the Goldwing.
He was in a cage.
Oh yeah, he was coming out. He lives in Virginia, so he was up with his wife. His wife is from where did she grow up? Orwell, Vermont. Mm-hmm. So that's why they were up, because they were in town for her parents. So anyways, good to meet up with him, and I'm backing up the machine from my house. So I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, man, everything's just like cold and it's frozen. So I hit the reverse. I'm backing up, and now the Goldwing weighs like 900 pounds. And I'm like, all right, I let off the reverse and it's still reversing. The starter button got stuck. And then I'm driving. I'm like, okay. Phew. And that what set it off was I was trying to start the bike and the radio wasn't coming on. I'm like, why isn't the radio coming on? I'm like, oh, this old piece of crap. Because sometimes you have to put your hand under and through the dash and like wiggle the wiring loom and the stereo will turn back.
Yeah, you can't ride a Goldwing without a radio.
Yeah, you can't.
Nobody can
That's
do that.
sacrilege. So I'm like I don't understand. Like the stereo's on and it should be working, but then I like listen and I hear the starter was running because the starter button was stuck. So I'm like, and it wasn't engaged. It was just like spinning. Like there's like definitely a clutch system. So luckily the starters are huge on these Goldwings. Like the reverse motor too. But then like dummy me didn't realize that it's also the reverse. So I'm reversing and then let off and I'm like, and it just like wouldn't stop. And I like ran into my house, ran into my shop.
God.
It's like, oh my God, here we go. But yeah, so my starter button didn't work either. So I just took a little bit just a touch of brake cleaner and then clicked it a couple times and it came back. I think like some water got built up in there.
Yeah.
So
It couldn't have been frozen at 23 degrees.
no, it's not cold enough.
Man.
So yeah, but yeah, I went for a little 30-mile ride too that day.
That's amazing. My gosh. It's supposed to be up to 50 something tomorrow, so I'm hoping I know you'll laugh, but I'm hoping I can get the triple out and take it over to storage and make some more room in the shop. Calling it quits way down here in the Midwest. So, yeah, I don't know, but it'll be warm enough probably end of February or beginning of March to be able to get out again. There'll be some warm days, but just make sure I drain those carbs so I'm ready to go when I want to go.
Yeah. Now, there's always you should never start a motorcycle when it's cold and this, that, and the other. But I've always just like put a high dose of stable marine formula gas in and just ran the bike for an hour with that. And then usually turn the fuel valve off and let it run out of gas, or just run it and then just run it periodically every couple of weeks and never have problems. So what's your take on?
Oh, gosh. You might as well ask what weight oil I put in the bike. You get 15 different versions, but well, first you got to fill the tires with nitrogen over the winter. That's the only way you can do it. But no, I mean, since the storage is close by, I do try and go over and start it. But I do have electric over there, so I could put the battery tender on the batteries and make sure they're going. So it's only two that I'm worried about. None of the rest of them are actually running, so I don't have to worry about that. But
Right.
there's a lot more stuff here to think about with lawnmowers and pressure washers and everything, and weed eaters. Now I've got to really try and take care of that. I haven't done that in years, so it ought to be interesting to see how I get all that done the way I procrastinate.
Do you guys can you get ethanol down there? Ethanol free gas?
No, that's what I was going to bring up. I can't find it anywhere, and that just blows me away that it's up there and not here. And there's an argument on a couple stations that claim, gas stations, that they have it, and other people say it's not. So there's a big distributor, Valare or something like that, and I was going to try and research, but a buddy told me the other day he found a place for me and got excited, and it was 50 minutes away. I'm like, I'm not going 50 minutes to get ethanol-free gas.
Right.
So I got to figure that out.
Champlain
In
Valley,
Vermont?
Champlain Valley fuel. Yeah, but you know what's funny? It's like I can already think of like you go across the state, go to like Stewart's, and all the premium in Stewart's is all ethanol free. So that I know it's in Fairhaven. Yeah, Stewart's right there. So we get there's a lot of places to get ethanol free, and it's all 91.
Yeah, that's what I used to use in Vermont. That was off of Susie Wilson Road, and I thought it was called Gas and Go or something on a corner there. And I would ride to there and fill up, but I do run premium here, but my buddy just says he's used it his whole life. He said, run it, don't worry about it. And I'm like, well, what's weird is coming back and letting the bike sit there and idle for 10 minutes to get the fuel out of the carbs so that when you park it, there's nothing in it. And I try and do that each time.
Yeah.
So I wasn't smart enough till somebody told me when you're coming home, quarter mile from home, hit the petcocks off and run it the rest of the way. And I'm trying to get it timed just right on the triple. It's, get such supreme fuel economy that you wait all day to try and get them carbs cleaned out. So
It's like, man, you can go 20 miles on just the bowls.
that's right. Man. So I should be delivering the quad to the grandkids this week with master cylinder brake lever came in, and I'm just praying that those calipers are okay on the front. And I recovered the seat, justified the seat myself, and got that covered. So they'll be excited. And I don't know. It'll be nice to ride a quad in an open field. Never done that before, to see what happens.
You've never done that before?
No, I never rode a quad before. So I rode a three-wheeler once, after I worked on it, and it about killed me. And I was like, these are death traps. I don't want it. But
The quads are just as dangerous. I mean, everyone's like the three-wheelers are like super dangerous. And yes, I have barrel rolled a three-wheeler a couple times, but like the four-wheelers, I've also done really dumb things and fallen off and ran into shit and almost fell. They're just as dangerous in my opinion. So just make sure the kids are wearing helmets. It's all I can ask. But
I wish I could control the throttle trigger, to not go all the way. But when I rode it in the yard, I just couldn't believe the surge of power lunging on this 250 quad. But then you realize you're probably only doing 15 miles an hour afterwards, but it's the 0 to 15, 0 to 20 just kind of shocks you, like, oh wow, that's really peppy. You just wasn't expecting it.
what is it? It's a little Timberwolf, right? No, it's Yamaha.
Recon.
That's right. It's a Honda.
It's a Honda Recon 250. And it turns out it's a 2007. I thought it was older. So it's, got a pretty strong little motor in it.
Yep.
So,
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder, what you could, is the carb, is it a VM round slide carb?
I think so. It's a standard Honda. Nothing's changed on it, but
Because I know, like, you could try to, like, put a stop or something.
that's what I was thinking. Years ago, Honda made a Honda MR50. It was 2-stroke, 50cc. And on the throttle body, it had an Allen set screw that you could change to where that was the maximum throttle until they learned how to ride, And I thought, man, that would have been a great invention to be able to do.
Yeah, because right now you can just full throttle it.
Right.
Unless you what you could do is, then it would be sloppy. But you could just loosen the throttle cable up.
Yeah. Do you remember that GS 450 I had? And you'd have to twist the throttle, 16 miles to get full throttle going up the road. And I saw that trick where you take PVC and put it over the throttle body, and then the cam is more, and I turned it into like a quarter-turn throttle. And I sold it to the guy and totally forgot to tell him that, oh, by the way, if you take this apart. But that worked out good. So
I have an idea. If it's a VM round slide, so you know how if you got your round slide, you've got the needle, and then the cable goes up through the center with the spring, right? And then you pull up. So what you do, as I'm thinking, you take like a pen, gut it out,
that's what you're saying.
Cut it to the length you want, and then have that sit on the cable inside the round slide, and that will top out on the top, so you can only go 3/4 or a half or whatever you decide, and you can just cut down to the right length. That would limit that. That would work.
Yeah.
And that pen would, it doesn't have to be a pen, but that's where I'm just looking at a pen. I'm like, this is what I would do. I would
a 1/2-inch plastic PEX that I use.
Yeah.
Probably
plastic PEX would work great too. And that would just create that slide, make that slide like longer, so that it would bottom out on the top of the cap, so you can only open it as much as you want it to open it.
And I'll write on the side, Paul patent pending.
Right. You should. That's right. We got an idea, dude. Let's do it.
That's right.
Well,
this is the MC Mechanics podcast.
It is. This is what we're doing. We got to come up with something. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
There we go. That's what I would do. That's my idea. See, you should try it. Tell me if it works.
That's right. News at 11.
News at 11. Johnny justified the 4-wheeler for the kids.
Well, I mean, I have a granddaughter that's younger, and that's the one we're worried about. Then the 2 older grandsons, are big boys. They'll be fine. But it's like, what do you do? Take it apart and redo it every time. But till she gets used to it. But
well, even if you did like 3/4 throttle or half throttle, 3/4 throttle, it's still plenty. They won't know any better, really.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah,
we'll tell them it's a governor.
Yeah, you should. Now, is that...
If you're good, I'll take the governor out.
If you're good, I'll put the shorter governor in.
That's right.
This thing only idles.
Have my PEX cutter, the ratchet, have it ready when they come in. Let's make some fine adjustments.
That's right.
There. I gave you a 1/16 of an inch.
Let's
see what you can do now.
2 more miles per hour.
Yeah.
Now, is that a CVT rig, or is it manual?
It's automatic manual. Yeah, and 4 or 5 speed. It's supposed to have a reverse on it, but I can't figure out how to get it to work because it's got a red light that says R on it, and that's got to be for reverse.
Put it in neutral, and then try to engage.
Well, I thought what somebody said was you shift up for everything. It's not like 1 down and 4 up.
Yeah, you go all the way down, and neutral's on the very bottom. So you get down to neutral, and then you should be able to jiggle it in neutral, the green light, and then it'll come on the red light. That's how it should work. At least that's how the Yamahas work.
Yeah, somebody said you push the shifter down and hold it down, and it goes into reverse. But it rolls real easily. But I don't know.
That's just like that does nothing. No.
Okay.
I'm
looking all over for a switch and everything.
There's like a lever on some of these things.
Yeah.
Manual. I think Google, or if you Google a manual, should have a manual so you know how to use it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. I don't know. Well, did we cover everything?
I think so. I mean, we've got more stuff we could talk about in our next episode. But yeah, if you like what you hear, subscribe to our podcast, where you can download and listen to podcasts, or hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. And we'll try to pump these things out. Johnny, if I don't see you, you have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
And all our viewers and listeners out there, be safe out there. If you are riding, get out there and ride, because if you can ride, then you should. John.
That's right.
And then for the rest of us that are stuck in the cold white hell that is the North, enjoy your podcasts and shows, and enjoy the break, and find a project and get ready for spring. That's all I've got. Anything, Johnny, for you?
No, I think that's it.
All right, man.
We'll have some more content in a couple weeks.
For sure. All right, man. All right.
All right.
Bye.